No one agrees 100% on this. And I think this is where the argument strikes. So where do we start here, Brad? Do we start with the fact of, obviously, we know who the 4 teams that are in, but the heartbreak for some of these teams, and we have some reactions trying to decide on both sides of what should have transpired. Brad, where do we want to start with this?
Oh my God, I don't even know. I'll start with just my own opinion on it, and then we can get into some of the other reactions and what have you. But for me, it something has to change. I don't know. Obviously, I think the 4 team setup is just not enough. There's too many good teams out there. FSU, while yes, they were down their star quarterback and then even their second string quarterback, they were still finding ways to win. And isn't that what we love about the NFL, is that maybe sometimes the best team actually doesn't make it, but they still find ways to win.
No matter how many teams are in it, people are going to be upset when they don't make it. My personal opinion, I think the committee got it right. I know there are people who will disagree with that and say that Florida State should not have made it. Did they go undefeated in the ACC? Yes. But
Florida State
that 11-0 FSU team that we all fell in love with, that had the incredible defense, that had Jordan Travis, that team's gone. As unfortunate as it is, that team is no longer there because they lost the Heisman favorite in Jordan Travis.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing, and this is why, and we're going to have actually some clips here and get your guys' opinion and reaction as well. And I'm not disagreeing that Florida State is a better team than the 4 that are in. But this is when you grow up and you're playing, like, shit happens, right? You got to keep playing no matter what. So I just feel really horrible for the Florida State guys who they lost their quarterback. And they said, you know what, we got to go find a way. And granted, it was ugly at times. And then they lose their backup quarterback. They find a way to win again. And I know everyone's looking at that TCU just – really what you agonize for in sports is to have the most uncompetitive championship game, and that's where it was. But TCU Michigan, that semifinal game, was dynamite. That was fun to watch. And for Florida State, though, it's just what do you do? What do you tell your kids? It means that the games you played really up to that point don't matter. And for Alabama, the crazy thing is we are one ridiculous 4th down play away from Alabama, even them winning the SEC championship, from not being in this. And you know what I'm talking about, Zach. That 4th and 30.
I will say I don't know. Even if Alabama doesn't get that, I don't know if FSU still makes it. I think they would put Georgia in over them. I think they weren't going to let FSU in no matter what because of Jordan Travis's injury.
Well, there's some debates about it. And Brad, if you don't mind rolling then this, where Stephen A. Smith talks about the college football playoff committee, I think it is an interesting conversation point because let's just face it, there's no real right answer, but there is a reality to what people like to watch and maybe have some more style points. So let's take a look at that right now.
The committee's decision.
Hell yeah.
Florida State was undefeated. I get that. But the flip side is that your star quarterback goes down. I said several points on first take. I'm going to repeat them right now.
Yes.
Number one, you had your star quarterback go down. You didn't look good against Florida. You didn't look good against Louisville. Style points matter. Why do style points matter? We saw a national championship game where TCU got blown out 65-7.
Yep.
You're the college football committee. You don't want that again. You don't want that in back-to-back years. You know what? If Jordan Travis hadn't gotten hurt, it's unfortunate, but Kirk Herbstreit highlighted this for us yesterday all over social media.
Well, we know how Herbert.
He's talking about the criteria is there. Player availability as well. If somebody gets hurt, unfortunately, that factors into their decision. So we got that going on. And here's my whole thing as well. Strength of schedule, Alabama ranked 5th. Florida State ranked 55th. Strength of schedule. Also, we got to take this into consideration, how they've looked over the last 11 weeks, who they've beaten, okay, and how they looked in doing so. We also have to take this into consideration. You know something? We don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it.
Yeah, this is the thing you do.
Primetime Deion Sanders, he wanted that job years ago. If he were the coach and they had a 12-0 record, they'd be in the playoffs.
Oh, you're saying the buzz, the juice.
The buzz, the juice. It matters. It matters in college football. I didn't say it's fair. I didn't say it's right, but it's true. It's the truth. It's the truth. That's right. That's right. It's not nonsense. It's not nonsense.
The blasphemy that you are speaking on this to these esteemed people. Let me say one thing. I'm going to put together a committee.
Yes.
I'm going to get Rex Ryan, Mike Shannon, Marv Levy, anyone, Bill Parcells. And when the NFL season is over, let every team play their 17 games.
Yes.
And then we're going to put together a committee and let them choose the 14 best, the ones they like best, and let those be the teams that wind up. Come on,
but
it's not.
stupid. That's stupid.
Why?
I'm not saying stupid stuff in this studio.
Nope.
Just because we're here. That's stupid.
There is an objective way they measure these teams in college football. It is called strength of record. They put all these metrics into a computer. And the team with strength of record was third was Florida State. Number 3.
Okay.
What they accomplished was third best of all the teams in the country. So unless we've decided to turn this into figure skating, in which there is absolutely no... I love figure skating. Well, I don't know anything about figure skating. But here's what I do know. The only way to determine who was a better figure skater, you or you, which candidly is a competition I'd love to see sometime, but the only way is by letting someone subjectively say, you did it better than you did it. In football, we have criteria that have been established ahead of time.
There's
they
rules,
are
Stephen
the
A.
third best team in the country.
No.
Yes.
First of all, we got rules.
So I think that, you know, there's two very compelling arguments, and I think that this is what everybody's split on, right? Like, you have the people who are in Greeny's camp that are, you know, just like this shouldn't be fair. Like, you look at any other sport, really, like, this is the only one. Even you can make the argument for college basketball a little bit, but there's so many other teams, and March Madness is just a whole different other animal. But like, you look at this, and it's just like, this is the only kind of sport in college sports that's really treated this way, and it has such a huge audience, a huge draw. So you're leaving out a huge portion of fans that want to see their team actually compete for a tournament, that it really kind of does a disservice to college football. And then on the other side, where Stephen A is saying, I kind of get it from a CFP standpoint. It's like, you don't want to see that TCU Georgia game all over again. And so if Florida State's without their star quarterback, 2 of them, by the way, then it could end up being that way if Florida State ended up getting to the championship. It's tough for me to actually say which side of the fence I want to sit on here, because I can see valid points on both sides of it.
I do too, you know, and that's why the debate is so challenging. There's no real right answer. But as a player, as a competitor, I mean, Zach, I'd be pissed just because what you asked Florida State to do. And again, I do think if Alabama were to play Florida State, I think Alabama wins. I think if Georgia plays Florida State or whatever that happens coming up, I think Georgia's the better team. And also, I don't know how Georgia fell from 1 to 6, by the way. That's something to me that doesn't make any sense.
Well, and Alabama jumped from 8th to what, 3rd?
8 to 4th, and Texas 7 to 3. But to make the home of the point, as a player, though, that's the part of the criteria you're saying, well, really what you didn't matter. And as a competitor, what are you taught? What are you taught to go do? Go win the fucking game. Yeah. Go win no matter what happens, and see what happens. And for Florida State, this was the first year, because of what happened with TCU last year, that they said, you know what, we don't want to take a risk, so we're not going to. The style point thing it's a real thing. I think Stephen A's onto that. Zach, you got any thoughts on that?
I was watching something a few hours ago, and I think it was actually on ESPN, and they said something, I forget who it was, but it talked about how over the past few weeks, the committee was preparing for this moment. They knew Florida State had the possibility to go out there and go undefeated. So suddenly, whenever we were talking about the playoff, it was no longer, okay, which 4 teams deserve to go. They started saying, we're taking the best 4 teams. And actually, I've seen this photo go around a few times. I'm going to read the final criteria and principle for how this is selected. And it says, and I quote, other relevant factors such as unavailability of key players and coaches that may have affected a team's performance during the season or likely will affect its postseason performance. So right there in the bylaws of the committee, they've already set themselves up for a situation like this where, okay, we have an incredible team with a Heisman candidate and the Heisman candidate goes down. Do we still let them in? And that was kind of their cushion of, they were giving themselves in that wording, okay, if a team is only their best player, we can take them out. And I think that's what they did with FSU.
Well, yeah. Well, the other part of it is what if FSU wins like Michigan did 26-0?
Yeah.
Like what happens then? And I'm curious because the committee then was going to have to make a tougher decision. But if it really was, if that's the case, if Florida State though went and put it to Louisville and it was really out of the game was out of contention and they coasted, is Florida State still getting in? Yes or no?
If they would have dominated Louisville,
or if they won like Michigan 26-0, like a game like that where it was a pretty dominant performance.
Yeah,
No.
I think so. But it was.
I don't.
Oh, you say no, Brad?
Yeah, I think without Jordan Travis, that sealed it no matter what. I don't think the committee actually had Florida State going in once that happened.
They already had it picked. They already had them already had their name being pushed to the side from the get-go. The four was just a mirage.
I think the toughest decision they had to make was which SEC team was going to make it into the playoffs, but they already had the other three decided.
No, I completely agree.
It's nuts. The style points, it is really interesting. It's fascinating to me. It should be a fun thing. I'll tell you what, though, if we have this video real quick while we're talking about it, just the Florida State, and this is what we're talking about, where kids put so much time and effort into, and you can sense the disappointment. Brad, do we have that video of Florida State?
Yeah.
The reaction. Let's just show it here for a quick second.
Devastated, and I'm sure there is a lot of anger in Tallahassee as a result of this. Just a terribly unfortunate set of circumstances that left Mike Norvell, who has done a fabulous job at Florida State, put the Seminoles in position, and now will be a challenge of leadership for him in the moment. But I think it's
yeah, obviously sucks to see.
Right, and then that's the point for me. When you tell you, and the coach for Norville, what do you tell your team?
That's what I was just about to ask. Like, what in that moment? You see him get up and walk, obviously, to address the team. What do you say in that moment?
Yeah, I think you just got to say it's disappointing. You're pissed off, and he can probably be as raw and organic with his team when there's not cameras around. But the best thing that they can do moving forward is go into their bowl game and win it. Go win that game. And then you can.
Well, you see who they have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's Georgia.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So you can prove the point. And the thing that's going to suck is I do think Georgia's going to win that game. But that's the best thing you can do is saying, prove yourself, go beat Georgia. Go kick their ass. And if you do that, that's going to change the conversation even when the playoff expands. Because right now the ACC is down. Everyone thinks, and rightfully so, the SEC is stacked. That's no knocking that. But the ACC is now really taking a dip on what they look at it. Clemson hasn't been who they've been the last few years. So outside of that, they're going, oh, maybe Notre Dame, Louisville was a nice story. And Florida State, oh, they're back, but are they really back because the conference isn't strong enough? So it's crazy. On the flip side, though, Michigan's the number one team, by the way. And I think all of us here, Zach, Brad, we think Bama's dangerous, right?
Yes.
Like they're extremely dangerous. I think Michigan agrees with that.
Yeah. Not every day you see the number one team maybe have a more upset reaction than Florida State did.
Yeah, it's wild. We actually have this video. So Michigan gets announced as number one. They're waiting for who they're going to play, who's going to be 4, who's going to be 5. And we'll let you guys decide how Michigan reacted. But looks like to us, they weren't pretty happy with who was number 4.
Michigan, number 5.
I'll tell you what, that's a confident group in there. They wanted Bama.
I can tell you, they thought they were playing a backup quarterback. That's what that reaction screams. We thought we were playing the backup quarterback.
Well, I think it's going to be a great game, but man, damn, that's the team you got to face when it's all said and done. That's going to be a test. Michigan's defense versus Alabama's offense and just overall, their team. I think Alabama, the problem for Michigan, they're going to have to be able to. They run the football. They are not a pass-happy team. I think that's fair to say. They run the football. They can make some big plays, but they are tough defensively. And then what do you get? What's your prize for being the number one team? Oh, hey, here's a Bama team that beat Georgia, a team that hadn't lost in 2.5 years.
So I saw a weird – I guess it's a conspiracy theory, but I love thinking about this. Is part of the reason Alabama got in over Florida State So because the committee is punishing Michigan.
Ooh.
Because think about it. If
Ooh.
now all of a sudden the team that you've suspended their coach for 3 games, there's this big stain on it. They would have been playing a backup quarterback. And if you watched how Florida State played against Louisville, they had a bye week into the championship. I don't think that they wanted that. I really don't. I think they wanted to give Michigan a team that they think is going to beat Michigan.
Yeah, wouldn't that be? It's going to be a storyline either way. It's going to be that people are going to be pissed Michigan won with the cheating scandal, or it's going to be that Alabama is going to be the national championship. If Alabama wins the semifinal game, I think they're winning the whole thing.
Either way, I'm taking the under on the points, whatever it is.
That's the goal. That's the plan.
I'm taking on both defenses are very, very good, especially Michigan. So I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of scoring in this game. I'd be very surprised if there was.